In .NET 10, LINQ finally has left and right outer joins as its first class operators, where left join actually means keep everything from your left, that is the outer table, and match it from the right, that is the inner table, whenever possible. And when there is no match, that is, the inner value passed to your projection is null. And on the very same idea, we have got the right join, but over here, keep everything from the right sequence. But there is a small note over here. The C# query syntax still does not have any explicit left and right joins. So you still have to follow this join into and then default if empty keywords over there. Or you can either use the new method syntax which have these left and right joins as their methods. Now let's see this in action. All right. So this is the solution that we've been working on so far. If you have not watched my previous videos on LINQ demos, I suggest that you please watch them and come back to this point over here after watching those. Okay. So now we need to do a LINQ left join. So let's add a new method over here. Let's call it static void perform left join, and let's call this method, and let me comment this. Okay, so now I need a left table and then I need a right table. If I look at my demo data provider, I've got these departments, and for each of these departments there is a student, but for my department 4 there isn't any student over here. So if you see over here, I don't really have any student for my department 4. So all of them are from 1, 2 and 3 departments. So that should be a very good use case for my left join. Okay. So my left table is going to be departments. So I'm going to copy this, and then my right table is going to be my students again. So I'm going to copy this also. And now let's write the query. So query is equal to departments dot, and now we see the magic happening and we get the new left join method over here. So I'm going to left join, and then the inner table or the inner collection is going to be my students over here. And then I need an outer key selector. So let that be just D over here, and the key is going to be the department ID. And now we need an inner key selector. So let the handler be S and the key be S dot department ID. And now we need a func again. So let the iterators be D, S, and over here I'm going to say new, and let's just call it department name. That should be equal to D dot name of the department. And then over here student name, let's just call it student name, and that will be equal to S dot first name plus a little space plus S dot last name. Pretty simple, I think. And now let's see if it is actually working. For each var item in query, and over here let's just print, and over here let's just print the department and the particular student for that. Okay, but there's a small error over here. So if we look at this place over here, I see a little tilde coming up over here that says S may be null over here. So for a left join, there could be a possibility that my right table is for one of the elements in my left table, there is actually no corresponding entry in the right table. So that could be a null situation over here. So I'm not going to fix this right now, but we'll look at the error that we face. So over here, I'm going to print it now, and I'm going to say department, and over here I'm going to say item dot department name, and then I'm going to say student, and I'm going to say item dot student name. Okay. Fine. So now let's actually look at what happens if we try to run this. So I'm going to add a breakpoint over here. I'm going to start this. And we see an object reference not set to an instance of an object. So we actually had a student null for a particular department name. Okay, so how do I fix it? I just add a null coalescing operator over here. So now even if this is null, it will use the default value and it will, because this is a reference type, it will just put null over there. Okay, so now let us run this and let's see what happens. Okay, so I didn't really got any error this time. And over here, if we see for my fourth department, that was geography, I didn't really got any student. So my student over here is null. But I have got all the departments over here. So if we go to this demo data provider, I've got computer science, mathematics, physics, and geography. Computer science, mathematics, physics, and geography. So all my entries from the left table are coming. For the right table where the entry is null, I'm not really getting anything. I'm getting a null value over there, but the code is not giving me an runtime error now. So this is how a left join using a query syntax will be done using LINQ in .NET 10. So this is my query syntax. Now let's look at the method syntax also. Now method syntax is not anything new in .NET 10. It is the same the way we had prior to .NET 10. So I'm going to say var query 1 is equal to from D in departments join S in students on D dot ID equals S dot department ID. Now we are going to say into, let's call it department students, and now we are going to say from S in ts dot default if empty, and then we are going to select new, and over here I'm going to say department name is equal to d dot name and student name is equal to this. Okay, and of course we would need this null coalescing operator again over here. Okay, so now let me try to print this and let's see what happens. So I just changed this query over here to query 1. Let me run this and we get the same output even here also. Cool. So we are not getting any student for the geography department. Cool. So this is how a left join will be done. Now doing a right join after you know how the left join happens, it is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to create a new method now. Let me go to the top and over here I'm going to create a new method called static void perform right join. So over here again my left table is going to be departments and right table is going to be students. I'm going to hit enter and I'm going to copy this entire thing from my left join and I'm just going to change this left join to right join and I'm pretty much done. But again, now there could be a scenario that we have a particular entry in the right table, but for that particular element, there is no entry in the left table. So my left table could be null at times. So for that case, for that very reason, I'm getting this little warning over here that says D may be null over here. So I'm going to suppress this by adding a null coalescing operator over here. And now if I print it, let me just print this, copy this, and let me print this. And over here, let us now first print the student rather than the department. So I'm going to cut this from here and put it over here. Let me add a comma and remove this comma from here. Okay. And now let's try to run this and let's comment the left join. Okay. Let's run this. Let's add a breakpoint and let's run this. So now we see that we have got Alice, we have got all the students and we have got the departments. But if I look at my data provider class, you would see that I've got Alice, Paul, Bob, Charlie and David. So I've got Alice, Paul, Bob, Charlie and David. So all my students are coming. And for departments, I just had 1, 2 and 3. So 1, 2 and 3 are coming, and for the fourth department I don't really have anything, so that is not coming. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's add a new student over here, or let's just change the value of this department, of the department of this student David, to be 5. Now I should get entry for David in my result set, but I should get a null department over there because David's department is department ID 5, and for that we don't really have any department over here. Okay, so let's run this again and let's look at the result. And over here we see that we have got David, but for the department it is not really giving me anything. So this is how a right join could be done using the query syntax. Oh, I'm so sorry. So this is the method syntax, and in my left join again, this is the method syntax, and this is the query syntax. Okay, now let's try to do the query syntax. So this query syntax again will be very similar to what we actually did in left join, but anyways we are going to do it. So I'm going to say where query1 is equal to, now I need the right table first, so I'm going to say from S in students join D in departments on S dot department ID equals D dot ID, and then I'm going to say into SD, that is student departments, from D in SD dot default if empty, and then I'm going to say select new, and I'm going to say student name is equal to S dot first name, let's add a little space, and then S dot last name, and then for the departments, or let's just call it department name, I'm going to say D dot name. So if you look at the two query syntaxes, it is very similar. It's just that I've put this S is the right table and I've used that before my left table now. So this makes it a right join now. Okay, so everything looks fine, and now let's try to run this and see if we get the same result. Okay, so now we probably forgot a null coalescing operator and we got a null reference and object reference exception. So my department could be null at times, so I think we should add this over here, and now let's run it. Yep, so it works now, and you see for my student David Brown, I don't really have any department, and that is why it is coming as null, and that was the only reason we got this exception over here. Alright, so this was it about the left and right joins in the new .NET 10. If you have any questions around any of the LINQ join videos, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below. And please like this video if you enjoyed watching it, if you learned something from it. Share it with your friends and please subscribe to my channel. It will be a pleasure to have you along the journey. Alright, so you have a good time and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.